Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Berry. This is Game Changers. I'm speaking with Glint Pay. They are changing the game of how we use money by leading the movement for a global payments revolution with that beautiful four-letter word, gold. So happy to have its CEO, Jason Cousins, on. How are you doing today, Jason?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Anna. I'm here in Dallas and beautiful blue skies and a golden sun shining down.
That must be your favorite word to use. And it seems like a very popular word. We're talking about this recent movement of US states to make transactional gold legal tender. So this is really happening, reintroducing gold as money. Talk about that. How many
Yeah.
states are looking at this?
There are 25 US states already. When I started looking at this just late last year, that I thought there were only three. It seems to be another state coming on every single month. Yeah, 25 US states. They're either considering, are working on, or drafting, or have submitted even bills to make transactional gold, to make it legal tender. I was just asked to testify up in Kansas at both the House and the Senate committee meetings there. I think I was rushed onto a call then to do the same in West Virginia. And yeah, I'm touring the states at the minute, helping answer some of the questions of, for instance, the treasurers and stuff about, and how this might work.
Well, it's something that's affecting all of us. I think everyone is listening and watching, seeing what's happening around our geopolitical system, around the world. Talk to
Yeah.
us a little bit about why this shift is happening so quickly.
Well, there's so many reasons why. I mean, I wish I didn't even have to build Glint, but I see dark times ahead, and I'm not a dooms guy, but I wanted a glint of hope. That's why we called the company Glint. And yeah, well, let's just pick a few of them. I mean, the widening wealth gap. I mean, I think it's something like 50% of the poorest in America own only 1% of the wealth. I mean, that's kind of crazy, or the other way around. I think five people have more than the bottom 50%. And that's kind of, why is that happening? I don't know if anybody really asks themselves that question, but actually it's very, very simple. Those closest to the money supply, the printing of money, benefit disproportionately from everybody else. The government is the first one to do that. The money is printed and they can spend it and rack up deficits. And then the banking system as well. And then the wealthiest in society, have the luxury of being able to borrow money very easily because of this loose monetary policy. They can then go out and buy real assets, homes, houses, invest in the stock market, that type of thing. Meanwhile, everybody else who struggles to be able to borrow money, etc., by the time they even get hold of any money, those assets have all gone up in price. And your viewers might be really shocked to know that actually in my lifetime, the dollar's nearly lost 90% of its purchasing power. 90, it's nearly become worthless. And to kind of really drum it home, a house in 1970 cost, I think, the average house $14,000. Now, today, the average house costs $400,000. So the $14,000 does not even buy you the down payment. Now, compare that to gold. The amount of gold it cost to buy a house in 1970 now buys you two houses. So why the states are saying, why are we using a form of currency that, has up until now has benefited America as the reserve currency of the world? It is, you've been able to kind of build up all this debt and effectively do all this spending, but it could only do that because it was the only reserve currency of the world. But of course, that currency now has been weaponized too many times. And people around the world are now starting to say, we might want to, well, they are using other currencies too. So you can now buy oil in renminbi and in rubles and different currencies. So it's not the only central bank, it's not the only reserve currency. So the widening wealth gap caused by this money printing is one thing. The US national debt, I've just mentioned, $34 trillion. It's estimated, I think, to be $50 trillion in the not so distant future. This is unsustainable. It cannot continue, especially as the erosion of the dollar's supremacy in the world starts to take effect. And of course, that money printing, as I said, that inflation, it's not going to go away anytime soon, and it's going to be keeping rearing its head. And even over the last 50 years, it's kind of insidious creep. I mean, everyone's kind of really feeling it over the last 2 years. but actually still it's lost 90% of its purchasing power over 5 decades. But I think it's going to be here to stay for sure. And then, of course, people are really worried about central banking digital currency, CBDCs. And I think that, and many do think that they're probably the biggest threat to civil liberties we've ever had. We've seen how Western governments can try and weaponize the banking system, etc., to shut up dissent and things like that. Even in Canada, for instance, recently, it happens. It happens all over the world. We had some debanking going on in the UK, and people are worried about that. And then, last but not least, the regional banks offer a fantastic service to their customers, but people are worried about systemic banking risk. We saw Silicon Valley Bank and a number of the banks last year. We even just saw one this quarter in trouble in New York, and they're worried about that, and actually, compared to what happened back in 2008 when I had the idea for this, a run on all thousands of regional banks could happen in an afternoon just by a rumor spreading on Twitter. So being able to have the option to move into gold temporarily and be able, or permanently, or have some of your wealth in gold, and to be able to spend it as well and use it as money, I think for all of those reasons, I think this is driving this momentum.
Well, I want to hear more about the origin story of you coming up with this in 2008 later, and we could go into the whys for a whole series, but let's go into what's next. So I have the app on my phone. Talk a little bit about how this works, and for people interested, what's next? How do they actually use this?
Well, the great thing is that nothing new needs to be built because Glint does exist. We're the viable, experienced technology and team on the ground. It sits within the existing regulatory banking and money transmitter service bureau regulations at the state level that already exist. So, with Glint, you can buy gold. You can buy as little as 1 cent worth of gold. I mean, so there's a democratization there, giving everyone, well, our vision is a world where everyone has an equal opportunity to prosper. So that's why we make sure that you can buy as little as that. You can obviously save it. It's stored in a secure vault. It's insured by Lloyd's of London. And you can spend that gold. Now, outside of the US, you can spend it just by or send it to other people just using the app outside of the banking system, one person to another across the platform. That's not available in the US, but we can switch it on when we want to. We will be soon. And of course, also with our innovation, the Glint MasterCard. So the Glint MasterCard gives us unprecedented liquidity, gives us unprecedented ability to spend your gold anywhere in the world where gold's accepted. Sorry, MasterCard's accepted. And if I just look into my app now, I use my Glint app all the time. I use my card all the time to be able to pay with gold. As the price of gold goes up and down as confidence in the US dollar generally goes down. But I'm benefiting from the maintaining of the purchasing power. And I'll just tell you, I went swimming this morning here in Dallas, and it cost me 0.1 grams of gold to use their pool. I was at a restaurant last night, 1.5 grams of gold. And, I've been using this for my hotels, my flights. I paid for my Wi-Fi at 35,000 feet in the air the other day with gold. So for those people who say gold's great, but you can't spend it, you're wrong. You can now if you use Glint.
Well, I want to ask the question maybe our viewers are asking right now. Break that down. So you have the Glint Pay, the MasterCard. How do you pay for your Wi-Fi up in the air or the pool you used in Dallas?
So it's a bit like if you were to travel to, Mexico on a holiday and use your US banking account with your US dollars in to spend in that foreign currency. You would just give them the card, wouldn't you? And it would be swiped. It might cost, I don't know, whatever it costs in their currency. You don't care because the bank and the system transfers it and exchanges it into the currency of the merchant without you having to worry about it. That's what we've built. We've built a very scalable, high-tech payments trading platform that does all the work for you. So you don't have to sell your gold in advance or anything like that. If you've bought the gold in the app, so you have to transfer some funds into your app, you can do that with a debit card or a credit card transfer, or more cost effectively, it's free if you do an ACH transfer into the app. You can then buy some gold. Once you've got that gold, you can just save it if you want. You could let it save for decades and let it just maintain its purchasing power, probably increase its purchasing power. And that only costs 0.02% a month, so only 0.24% a year to have your gold stored in a secure vault, so you're not worried about having it stolen or anything like that. Now, If you want to spend it, you just pull out your MasterCard. You know, I've got one here. You pull out your MasterCard, you give it to the server, and they will simply take it and swipe that card. Now, what happens in the background with our tech is that the signal goes through to MasterCard, the request, can you authorize this transaction? They then are allowed to leave the restaurant, and our system takes that request, sees how much dollars the restaurant might want or the merchant needs. We see what is the exact price of gold in this millisecond. We count how much gold you've got. We see whether or not you've got enough. We authorize the transaction. All of this happens within 200 milliseconds. And we sell just enough gold either to one of our other clients who's buying gold at the same time or back out into the market, and the proceeds of that sale go all the way to MasterCard. Now, this is all done with very scalable technology. You know, at nighttime, there's a point we're live in the UK, we're live in the US. We've got about over 200,000 registered users. And lots of them are making transactions sometimes while we're sleeping and stuff, and it all runs seamlessly and securely. Yeah, we've got now, I think we've done nearly $500 million worth of transactions so far. I think we have about $150 million of gold on the platform at any one time, and we're growing. You know, people, when they hear about this, they love it because it's a solution to these needs, these serious needs that people are facing right now, these problems.
For everyday consumers and also larger businesses. You were just mentioning banks that you were speaking about. So this seems like a global shift and a global change, and you're right on point. Not only changing the game we use money and how we use money, but giving people a glint of hope. I love it. So great speaking with you. I have so many more questions, but I guess that means we have to keep talking.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'd recommend everyone just download the Glint app today. They can do it on their phone, or go and have a look at glintpay.com, and if you want to learn more.
There you have it, glintpay.com. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for
Thanks,
watching.
man. Thank you.